Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of the Duke and Dutch podcast or live stream. We haven't really established what we're doing yet. I
Hello.
am Dutch, and that's Duke over there. What's up, Duke?
Hey, what's up?
And we got a pretty eventful show for you right now. We have two lawsuits to get through, one involving President Trump and CBS, the other one involving Prince Harry, who is still whining about his sad and lonely life. We also got to get into the 51st state, which is super exciting. Trump has been talking about wanting to annex Canada for quite a while, and it seems like Alberta might actually come along. So I'm all for it. We can change up the flag a little bit if we have to. And then we want to talk about the current state of Disney, specifically Lilo and Stitch. But the first thing we got to get into, which is not really one of our topics, but I wanted to review it. This is, have you ever gone to a hotel and you just have a terrible experience? I know I have, but this is one of the worst reviews I think I've ever seen. Duke, you can see it, right? Can you read it out?
Sure. All right, first we got a review by Andrew MC Wick. This was placed on December 2024 with 1 star or circle, however you want to look at it.
Awful
Awful.
experience.
Yep, awful experience. I'm considering legal action, but please be wary when booking hotel and party night package. My wife had just returned from Inverness.
Must be a function.
She went down to one of their party nights that included a night's stay at the hotel with her work. She has terrible burns on her elbows, knees due to an accident in the leisure suite caused by a raised tile in the pool area.
Terrible.
The food has given her a sore arse. The hotel is in a mobile phone black spot, and the Wi-Fi was down, so she wasn't able to call or message me at all during her stay. Worse still, she's managed to catch crabs from a hotel towel. Absolutely disgraceful.
So for anybody who is thinking of staying at this Kingsmill Hotel, just so you know, there's no Wi-Fi service. You're going to get brush burns on your knees, and you could catch crabs from the hotel towels. It's just, obviously,
Like
this is
good
a
time to
scathing
me.
husband who's just like, it sounds like almost like the worst hotel experience you could possibly imagine.
But yet the location got a 4.0. So obviously location's good, just the service itself is shit.
See, and I was thinking to myself, like, my cynical side was like, is there something else going on here? But I don't think so. A husband would, or a wife would never lie to her husband about some business trip. So it's just terrible service. So everybody, please avoid Kingsmill's Hotel.
I mean, how else would she catch crabs? It has to be from
well, that was specified already from the
it has to be from
hotel
the towels,
which is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
I've never heard of something like that, but I did have a mouse in a hotel room once. So, I mean, all right, let's we joke a little bit, but avoid this hotel unless you want all this stuff to happen.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So our first major topic is this CBS lawsuit that's been going on, I think, really since Trump took office. He wanted to sue CBS. A little background on this story is there was a 60-minute interview with Kamala Harris pre the election. I think it was leading up to it, a couple weeks before. And essentially, it was discovered that they severely altered the interview to make her look a lot more competent than she really is, which is surprising because Kamala Harris is a very eloquent speaker, but somehow CBS thought she needed an extra little push. So they helped her out a little bit. And Trump decided to sue them for, I think, election interference. And everybody thought, this is going to go nowhere. It's free speech. You can, obviously you can edit interviews, but that clearly isn't what is going to happen here because CBS is talking about a settlement. But we're going to get into this. I apologize for the audio on this clip because the audio on this is not great. But just so we get a little context here.
Is this a case that you'd like to see go to trial, or are you open
With
to
who?
CBS?
CBS?
Yes.
Well, CBS did something that was amazing. Kamala was unable to answer a question properly, and they took the question that they asked and they inserted an answer. They gave her an answer. This was 2 days before the election, right before the Sunday night before the election. And they wrote out they put her words from another question that was asked about a half an hour later, and they put that into the question. Nobody's ever even heard of it before. Nobody's ever heard of anything like this before, but they then did it, they say, on numerous occasions. And the FCC is looking at it very strongly, and everybody's looking at it, but nobody's ever seen anything. Think of it, they took her answers and they changed them. And I don't mean they changed a word or two, or they cut off a half a sentence, or they cut off a couple of words. I mean, I've had that happen too, but that you just say, then they say, well, we want brevity. We wanted to do it for time. They took out her answer and they inserted an entirely different answer that made her sound competent. And they did this, and nobody's ever, I thought I've heard of everything when it comes to that stuff. No, I've never heard of it. Nobody's ever seen. So we sued, and we are in discussions of settlement.
So that's where they're at with it right now, in discussions of settlement. From Amuse here, Deceptive 60 Minutes episode featuring Kamala Harris has been nominated for an Emmy Award, which just shows you how biased and corrupt the media really is. They know this settlement's going on, or this lawsuit's happening. They know CBS and 60 Minutes are being sued because of their deceptive practices. And I don't really know, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the bylaws around all this stuff. I have no idea because I would think most interviews are edited somewhat. But if what Trump alleges is true, it really seems like they really were very deceptive in how they were trying to portray this entire interview, which, I don't know. To me, Duke, I think it's crazy because Kamala Harris is such a fluent and well-articulated speaker.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't really see
one of the greatest of our times.
I guess she'd have to be pretty good because, her episode was nominated for an Emmy, even with all this contention going on around it. So here is one of the clips in questions. And this is exactly what Trump's talking. We're going to give her first answer is going to come first, and then the edited answer. And, anybody, be the judge. What do you think is the better answer here?
I think this is the perfect video to give you a real context and understanding of why he's doing what he's doing.
No, I think Trump is totally right. It's been completely manipulated. But yeah, let's.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
So if what this is alleging is true, yeah, he's completely right. These are completely different answers. There was,
yep.
And they edited this obviously to make her sound a lot better than, she
physically is an edit, but that's not an edit. You're changing the complete answer.
I would say that's outright deception and manipulation of something.
They edited the media, but that's deception. Yeah, that's absolutely not what she said.
No. So we're gonna go over here to these the lawsuit, which everybody said, hey, you can do this in journalism. This is not going to be a thing, but apparently CBS is worried enough about it from going into discovery that they actually do. They want to settle with Trump, and they want to be like, hey, let's put this behind us.
There's certain limits and laws, but I don't think you can do specifically what they just that.
I don't know. I don't know the rules about journalism at all, but I would think, especially for an organization like 60 Minutes, you want to conduct yourself in sort of a way. What do they call it on, everyone's like, oh, I was clipped out of context. And that what they did for Kamala, but they did it in a favorable way. They clipped her out of context.
Yeah.
CBS owner Paramount reportedly intends to settle Trump's $20 billion lawsuit. CBS owner Paramount is reportedly nearing a settlement with President Donald Trump over his claims that 60 Minutes deceptively manipulated a pre-election interview with Kamala Harris. So I mean, right off the bat, if they didn't do anything wrong, they wouldn't even be talking about settlement. I wouldn't think. But maybe they don't want to go into discovery, you know, and there are a lot of weird laws around like journalism and like what you can actually do because of confidentiality sources and all that.
Well, especially as soon as you mentioned the election, I think that one of the more important things of this situation is the fact that it happened. What was it? 2 days right before the election.
I don't know. It was. It
So
was
that's
pretty close to the
borderline.
election. Yeah, it was
That's
pretty. It was pretty
borderline
close.
election tampering.
Well,
Because
I
he's
think
putting out
that's the
fake
whole
news.
crux of this case. Because if this came out,
Yeah.
you know, 6 months beforehand, it probably wouldn't have been a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was so close to the election, and somehow they
They
got
put out something that directly affects the results of the election. That's election tampering.
Well, our entire media does that. I mean, it's like, you know, I read this article the other day. It's like since Trump's first 100 days in office, 90% of media coverage about him has been negative. And I know during the
Sounds
election,
about right.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I believe 92% of media coverage for Kamala on like MSNBC, CNN was positive. 84% for Trump was negative. I wish I had that thing. I could pull it up. Don't quote me on that. I could be a little off on the numbers, but it was somewhere around there. So yeah, these people are very, very used to. I mean, I would say that's all the news really is. That's all journalism really is now. It's just tampering. I mean, you're just playing for one side. It's super obvious.
Saying what you want to say, yeah. No matter if the person said it or not, you put out the message that you want to put out.
Trump's complaint filed against Paramount and CBS in a federal court in Texas seeks at least $20 billion in damages. The lawsuit has been widely described as frivolous, but it appears that Paramount is motivated to settle the case while it seeks the Trump administration's approval for a merger with Skydance. Reports published yesterday by the Los Angeles Times and New York Times say that the Paramount is ready to settle. In an April 18 meeting, the Paramount board outlined acceptable financial terms for a potential settlement with the president, according to 3 people with knowledge of the internal discussions, wrote the New York Times. The exact dollar amount remains unclear, but the board's move clears a path for an out-of-court resolution. The Paramount board acted to provide clear guidance to lawyers, who will be representing them during the mediation process. With mediation sessions set to begin today, the newspaper said its source indicate the company is eager to put the 60 Minutes controversy behind it so that it can move forward with its sale to David Ellison's Skydance Media. I wonder if he's related to Larry Ellison. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But so that's the crux of it. There's a little more to this here. I don't think we need to really get into, and we're gonna have to see where this is gonna pan out. But it sounds like they want to come to the table, and I guarantee you, if they do, Trump is gonna go out there and he's gonna raise the flag. He'll be touting a win against the fake news. It's all fake news, which I think in a lot of aspects he's pretty much right about.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
But there are some people, specifically 60 Minutes, who are not so happy about this.
I wonder why.
Oof. Uh-oh. Sorry, I gotta load this up. Got a lot of tabs open here, like I said. So here's 60 Minutes responding to the controversy and saying how they feel slighted and they think it's unfair and, you know, poor them. We were only trying to influence the election.
In tonight's Last Minute, a note on Bill Owens, who until this past week was executive producer of 60 Minutes. He was our boss. Bill was with CBS News nearly 40 years, 26 years at 60 Minutes. He covered the world, covered combat, the White House. His was a quest to open minds, not close them. If you've ever worked hard for a boss because you admired him, then you understand what we've enjoyed here. Bill resigned Tuesday. It was hard on him and hard on us, but he did it for us and you. Stories we pursued for 57 years are often controversial. Lately, the Israel-Gaza war and the Trump administration. Bill made sure they were accurate and fair. He was tough that way. But our...
Sure about that?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. If you're gonna do
Evans
a settlement
doesn't
for this
fucking
lawsuit,
prove it. Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I'm not sold on accurate or fairness in this regard.
Like the proof is out there, and you're still denying it. You're like, oh no, he was doing what he was supposed to do.
Well, they haven't been. You know. I mean, you know, they're gonna settle. Which obviously, settling you can always have plausible deniability. You say, oh, we don't want to go through discovery. And like I
Yeah.
said, I think for obviously for a news organization, for 60 Minutes, for CBS, it would be crazy to drag, a media agency through the courts because their Discovery would open them up to so much. So maybe that plays a part in this. Don't know, but I would say from what this guy is saying, I guess he greatly respects his boss. That's good. But it doesn't sound to me like this story was accurate or fair. It sounds like, you were trying to influence people to feel a certain way about Kamala Harris, and you knew she couldn't do it on her own. So,
You're trying to make a story out of nothing.
well, you just, you're trying to influence something that's, she's a lot better than she is. It's like, we've all seen her speak. She's the Cicero of our times.
Parent company Paramount is trying to complete a merger. The Trump administration must approve it. Paramount began to supervise our content in new ways. None of our stories has been blocked, but Bill felt he lost the independence that honest journalism requires.
That's an interesting statement to make. None of our stories have been blocked. However, he feels we can't do whatever we want. Well, if you're honestly covering stories and none of them have been blocked, what are you exactly upset about? Like, that sounds like, it doesn't sound like you're doing the news then. It sounds like you're doing propaganda and you're upset. Hey, I can't do propaganda. Nothing's been blocked.
There's just another person doing some fact checking on you, and you're upset about it. Why?
Well, we don't know their internal workings, but it doesn't sound like anything has changed. But for some reason, you're upset enough that you have to leave. That's very odd.
No one here is happy about it. But in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along.
What? How did he prove that exactly?
Let me
go back here. I don't know.
What does that statement even mean?
Resigning, was happy about it. But in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along.
So he's the right person because he's willing to resign when shit hits the fan.
I guess so.
Am I missing something?
Why is he the right person to lead when he got controversy for doing something he wasn't supposed to do, and then he abandoned ship? Well, I mean, maybe he was close to retirement. They said he was there for 40 years. So I mean, that's a long time.
It doesn't sound like he was forced to quit. At least not yet, based off of what they knew.
He voluntarily stepped down, but it does sound like, well, none of your stories have been
How
blocked.
does that make him the right person to lead, though? That's what I'm saying. Like, what that statement just, I don't get it.
Well, especially since none of their stories have been blocked. So that's just, okay. So what's changed exactly? It sounds like he wants to do propaganda. I mean, that's how I interpret it anyway. It sounds like you want to do propaganda, and you're not allowed to anymore, which really throws the whole 60 Minutes and really all of the news media into how much of this is propaganda, how much of it's fake. We're on Twitter right now. I'm pulling stuff up from here, and they're very upset. This has been Twitter's a bunch of misinformation. It's like, okay, and I'm not saying there isn't. There's definitely misinformation on Twitter. There's misinformation everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what source
it is. I'm supposed to believe that CBS or MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, they're so much better. Yeah, I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, moving on from that, we have another lawsuit, but we're going to it's lawsuit day. It's lawsuit Monday, but we're going to get into that a little later. Right now, we have a very interesting story about Canada becoming the 51st state and where those plans are going.
What I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs.
So that's Trump. This was back, I think, in the beginning of the term. And, Trump's been going very, very hard about wanting Canada to be the 51st state, or perhaps Greenland. Everybody's up in arms. The Canadians are furious about all the tariffs, which a lot of the world is, because we're trying to even the playing field back so the America doesn't get screwed over on every single trade deal. But everyone pretty much said, when Trudeau was in office, oh, that'll never happen, yada, yada, yada. And maybe, probably it won't. But there has been a whole shift, at least for a fringe movement in Canada, specifically Alberta, Canada, since they ousted Trudeau as their prime minister and they installed Mark Carney, who is apparently way more liberal than Trudeau. And some Canadians are fed up with it, and that's what we're going to talk about here.
They're heading to the polls to elect a new Prime Minister. The election is at a time of economic uncertainty as Canada navigates a trade war with the US. Sworn in just 6 weeks ago, Mark...
Can you hear this okay?
It's slightly low, but I could hear it.
All right, so yeah, this is... Sorry, I'm trying to mess with the audio levels, but all the videos get different audio levels.
You're good to continue. Don't worry, you're fine.
Carney leads the Liberal Party, which has been in power for a decade. He made his final pitch to voters, largely focusing on concerns over American tariffs.
America's leadership of the global economy is over. And this is a tragedy. This is still in play, but it is a tragedy. It is also our new reality.
US President Donald Trump has weighed in, renewing calls for Canada to become America's 51st state. The Commander-in-Chief posted on social media, America can no longer subsidise Canada with hundreds of billions of dollars a year. It makes no sense unless Canada is a state.
I mean, let me know where he's wrong.
No, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, let's stop giving money to places unless they're actually part of America.
We do subsidize a lot from Canada, and we don't need that much from Canada. I think like lumber is one of the biggest like imports. It's like we don't really need to import their lumber. We have tons of lumber.
Yeah.
But obviously, not everybody's so happy about that, especially since Mark Carney, and I don't know much about Mark Carney, but he is the Prime Minister of Canada now, and he apparently is more liberal than Justin Trudeau, which is a scary, scary thought for anybody living in Canada. But this takes us into this article here, and that's why we played all that. Alberta separatists push to leave Canada after Liberals win election. Donald Trump is not the only person who wants to change Canada's landscape. Some Albertans, frustrated with almost a decade of Liberal power, want independence from the country. And Cameron Davies, a leader of the breakaway movement, told Newsweek why. The province, along with several others in the West, has long seen itself as unfairly treated by Ottawa. Its oil and gas resources make it a huge economic contributor, but many feel underrepresented in the capital, especially over environmental policies, which regulate its resource industry. Now, I don't know much about Canada, but from what Alberta's kind of like very big, it's very expansive. I don't think there's a lot of major cities there, but they do have, I think I have the graph somewhere. Oh no, I think I lost the graph. Darn, that's what I wanted.
Seems like they're more of a resource territory than an actual population territory.
I just want to see if I can find it real quick.
From what you read earlier.
Because I wanted that graph. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm all over the place. Here it is. Oh, perfect. It was right here. Yeah. Alberta's net contribution to Ottawa, more than $244 billion from 2007 to 2022, dwarfs contributions from any other province. So this is Alberta up here. They're obviously contributing
not even close.
The most to if this graph is correct, it's from the Fraser Institute, so it probably is. But I mean, way more than anybody else's. And obviously, it's like there are certain ones like over here, they're operating at a severe deficit. So if we can take Alberta, I mean, hey, that'd be great, but that would obviously cripple like Canada's economy a lot more. Sorry about that. I thought I had that graph up. I'm sorry, But the push for an independent referendum has seemingly stepped up in the wake of the Liberal Party's victory of the Conservatives on Monday night, making former Bank of England boss Mark Carney Prime Minister. This is perhaps best illustrated in Cameron Davies' decision to quit as leader of the United Conservative Party of Alberta, which he has served for more than 7 years. Take over as the head of the independent supporting Republican Party of Alberta. Today is the birthday of many new separatists in Alberta, Davies said in his announcement after the election results. Albertans keep working harder while getting less in return. I watched the UCP fold time and again under Ottawa's pressure instead of standing up for Alberta's interests. It became clear to me that we need a new path forward, one that puts Albertans first, always. Now, obviously, this guy's very disgruntled. He feels like his province, I believe it's a province. It's I think they're called provinces. They're not states, right? They're provinces.
Correct, I believe so.
I think so. Okay. And if that graph is correct that we just pulled up, it does seem like Alberta is really kind of like put the rest of Canada on its back.
They pretty much fund Canada.
Yeah, it seems that way. So who wants Albertan independence and why? Around 3 in 10 Albertans would vote to leave the Federation, given this week's Liberal victory. It surveyed a randomized sample of 2,400 Canadian adults and questioned another 2,100 people between March 28th and the 31st. Both weighted to be representative of adults nationwide. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. This is a long article. But about 3 in 10, they say they want to leave. Now, is some of that, I'm sure, it's off the back of the election. They're happy. They're not so happy that, obviously the Conservative Party in Canada lost. And they have a more liberal person than Trudeau. Yeah, I'm sure that it plays a part in it. But I don't know. It'll be interesting because Trump is definitely open to Canada becoming a state.
We'll have to keep an eye on it and see if it turns into anything.
I mean, I doubt it will, but I mean, it's just interesting. There's already talks about this. And Trump would love it. He would love to add a state under his belt.
Well, I mean, that's the first step of something happening is talks.
Yeah, we shall see how this plays out. But I think I got one more clip from it. Yeah, here it is. About, breaking news about Alberta joining the U.S. as the 51st state. So here's Alberta here. I don't really know too much about, Canada's provinces. I know it's got a couple. Obviously, it's outlined here. But this is Alberta. So we could make it like North Idaho or something. North Minnesota.
Trump has been calling to make Canada the 51st state, and a group in Alberta is apparently on board. Jeffrey Rath is leading that group, a lawyer from Alberta. He has that delegation behind him. Jeff, how big is your delegation? Tell me the feeling you are for joining America.
Hundreds of Albertans that are reaching out and volunteering to join our delegation. Right now, our group is very small. It's a steering committee of people that are looking to come to Washington on an exploratory basis and meet with a representative appointed by President Trump to explore the benefits of either Alberta becoming an independent sovereign nation with economic union to the United States, becoming a U.S. territory.
Well, that's kind of cool. They're going to send people to Washington.
There's definitely legs to this. They're definitely, like I said, talks are the first step.
Well, some people are interested anyway. I don't think Canadians like Americans so much, but
usually that's my understanding of their opinion of us. But
I don't know. I've never. Have you been to Canada? I've never been to Canada.
I have never been to Canada.
Yeah, so I don't know too much about how they view us. All I know is I don't think they have a very high opinion of us, but maybe Alberta does. I don't know. It's big, though. I mean, like, it's actually bigger
Typical
than the
view
US.
of Canada, from my understanding, or at least from how it's portrayed in the media, is a lot more laxed and relaxed and friendly. I'm sure it's not like that everywhere in Canada, but they clearly don't want to be laxed and relaxed in Alberta.
Yeah, they don't seem relaxed and friendly over there. They seem fired up. Yeah, come to Washington, meet with Trump. Oh, he would be over the moon with that. He'd be so happy. Oh, Alberta, yeah. Huh. It'll be North Minnesota. That's what. It'll be great. It'll be great.
Or becoming or pursuing full statehood.
How is
those
Canada?
Those are our goals.
How has Canada lost their way? How has Canada lost their way that makes you think you got to join us?
Trudeau and Carney, are all wringing their hands over the tariffs. They're going to be kicking Albertans in the teeth and bringing in a 21% carbon tax increase in April. This is, the carbon tax itself is just an insult to hardworking Albertans that can't afford to heat their homes and can't afford diesel and gas for their cars and trucks to go to work. That's a big part of why it is that people in Alberta are fed up with being governed, by idiotic politicians from Quebec and Ontario that do not understand our province and do not understand that culturally we're far more closely affiliated with our friends to the south in Montana than we are with all of the people in Ottawa wringing their hands over the smell of diesel exhaust when people from Alberta come to protest how badly we're being treated by Ottawa.
What's your message to Donald Trump? 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Greenland self-determination. Please support Alberta self-determination. You promise that to Alberta in the same way you promised it to Greenland. we'll be an excellent partner to the United States and we'll all prosper.
All right, let's see how big your delegation gets, Jeff, how many calls you get, and maybe, Jeff, you will be governor
I
of our
think this is
51st state.
hilarious, man. I really do. I think that's awesome.
I mean, from the chart that you displayed earlier, they have quite a bit of resources and
yeah, it seems like
funds
they have a
coming
lot of
from them
resources, and it seems like it's a more rural area, and they're getting screwed over. I don't know where Ottawa is. Sorry, I'm an ignorant American on Canadian provinces or cities and whatnot. But yeah, it seems like they're getting screwed over, and they're just like, hey, they're sick of it, and their values don't align. If they're more rural people, they're probably more conservative. They don't really care so much about carbon taxes or the Green New Deal or conserve the planet because the ocean levels are rising. Even though I don't know, they tell me that every time I look at pictures from 100 years ago to now, it looks the same to me. But I could just be completely uneducated on the matter. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, is they're gonna go to?
We're just gonna have to see how it pans out.
I'm excited to see it. Yeah, let's bring him in.
Hopefully, there will be more news along the way.
I'm sure there will. This story is just breaking. I mean, it's been talked about, but I mean, Trump's planted the seed in these people's heads. They're like, hey, we could go to the U.S. I'm sure Trump would be like, oh yeah, hell yeah. All right, so
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad thing probably for either one of us.
So, keeping with our theme of lawsuits, as we were talking about the Trump CBS lawsuit before, we now are going on to the whinging and whining Prince Harry. I'm sure a lot of you are kind of aware of this story. Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle, are literally always in the news for the most benign and trivial things. They do interviews for anything. They are famous for leaving the royal family, trashing their family, writing books about how terrible their family is. There was a scandalous thing where I think, his brother broke his necklace. It's like, I don't know how you deal with that, man. It's rough. But this specific thing is about his court case in the UK, because he wants security, even though he voluntarily left the royal family, but he still thinks that taxpayers should be paying for his security around the world because he's such a self-important narcissist. And
I'm
apparently
teary-eyed already.
This court case didn't go too well for him. They threw it out. They said, hey, listen, you left the royal family of your own accord. You're not entitled to anything. And for the man baby who's pushing 40 here, or I think he is 40, but it's difficult for him to deal with. Meanwhile, he has monetized, he's pretty much monetized his entire family to make his living in Montecito. And, every little thing for him, they'll just get him a platform and he can just whine and cry about it.
That it was, security was used as leverage. And I think what really worries me more than anything else about today's decision, depending on, what happens next, is that it's set a new precedent, that security can be used to control members of the family. And effectively what it does is imprison other members of the family from being able to, choose a different life.
Normal life comes without security, guy. Like, what are we talking about here?
I don't think anybody's gonna bother him anyway. There was 2 years ago. There was they were in New York City, and there was apparently a high-speed car chase for 2 hours. Well, anyone who's ever driven in New York can tell you the traffic moves pretty much constantly about 10 to 15 miles an hour. You're not in a high speed. This is not one of the. This is not some action movie. It's not. It's not physically possible in New York, dude.
Yeah.
This guy. I don't know. Honestly,
you couldn't drive over 40 if you wanted to.
His entitlement. It's like he thinks he's Midas. I get it because you're very privileged. I mean, you've always been in this lap of luxury.
Yeah, what happens when this is what happens when you're born with a silver spoon, a platinum spoon, as we said earlier.
I wouldn't even say silver.
It's not even a silver spoon. You literally had to do nothing since you came out the womb of your mother.
You're lucky if you're in the. I mean, if you're in the 0.1% of wealth. I mean, you're incredibly fortunate. He's in the 0.0001.
Royal. He's born royal. You know how many people are born royal?
They have jewelry.
Oh my God!
I'm not a royalist, so I don't know, but they have jewelry stashed away in some vault that like a single tiara is worth like a couple $1 million. And it's not like, oh, they have one. No, they have tons. I mean, like they live.
I can guarantee you he has a crown somewhere that he can sell at any point from his royal days.
He's wearing a Burger King crown lately, but
I
Buckingham,
don't know how the laws work, but I don't know if all his royal jewelry gets taken away from him when he left the family. I don't know. Maybe.
No, they don't actually. All that stuff belongs to the institution, so they can't take any of that
that's
with
not
them.
personally
They
theirs.
can use it for like special events or something if it gets clearance, but they can't. No,
That makes
all
sense.
of that, it doesn't, like, nobody own. I don't even think like Queen Elizabeth, when she was alive, she didn't own any of it. It belongs to like the institution, so you could use it, but you can't keep it.
That makes sense.
All right. So,
For me, security is conditional on having an official role, one that both myself and my wife wished to carry on, but then was rejected, not by Ravek, was rejected by the royal household. And the result to that is you lose your security. That basically says that you can't live outside of their control.
from what I understand, his mother.
Well, first off, hold on. Let's not just look over that. It's like, yes, that is what that says. If you want to leave the family, guess what? You get none of the benefits.
No, well,
that's 100% what it is. If you're not part of the family, you lose the benefits.
He left the royal family. I think his mother left him an inheritance of, I think it was like, I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't know the number, but it was a few $1 million. He has signed deals with Spotify for $25 million. He signed deals with Netflix for $100 million. He did a book deal, I think, worth $20 million. And he's like, well, I can't pay for security. You obviously can pay for security if you really wanted it that badly. But you don't want to pay. You want the taxpayers of the UK to pay for security. And as far as I know, his visa records to the US haven't been released yet. So we might be paying for his security here. Possibly. I don't know if that's true. But this guy's like, I'm going broke. You're going broke. And he's like, oh, I only got like, what, $100 million. It's like, oh my God. The problems this guy has. He lives in
I feel real bad.
He lives in a Montecito mansion with 16 bathrooms. It's like, what do you wake up every day and you're like, oh.
Which bathroom do I want to take a shit in this morning?
Yeah. What privy do I want to use today? Oh, geez. It's like this guy is just, this is why people really dislike him. It's like you could have left the royal family. You could have done it amicably. You could have went on and lived a private life like you said you wanted to do.
Nobody would have bothered you.
And nobody would have bothered you. Andrew's kids, Eugenie and Beatrice, I believe they've done that. And I think one of them lives in the U.S. Maybe both of them do. I don't think anybody bothers them. I don't know if their security thing, but they're not in the news every single day whining.
Yeah. And that's really what it is. It's constant complaining about what? About you not having the benefits of being royalty anymore. You're not royalty anymore.
I'm upset because of the choices I made. And I only have like $100 million. It's like, oh my God, man. It's like, how do you...
What will I ever do?
Well, that's why people don't like them. For a normal person, this just doesn't conflate. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you're whining about stuff that nobody I think I've ever met will even have the privilege of ever worrying about. So I have there is no empathy for you, man. And especially you made your own choices.
And according to the news article, it sounds like they're trying to insinuate that he's trying to get back into the royal family now.
Well, he might be.
I don't know how much that is, but I doubt it's going to. I very highly doubt the body of England, or whatever you want. I'm sorry, however they go by, Great Britain, yada yada yada. I would allow it, and if it's even legal, because there's definitely rules to the royal family.
They could do it. It's just it would be if anybody in the institution would allow him back in. Basically, his father is the king now. And it's just, when they had this whole discussion about them wanting to leave, they wanted to do this half in, half out thing. And the queen, who was still alive,
here's the thing about that, though. I've read reports. I don't want to necessarily assume they're true or not, but he has his own health issues, the current king. So if God forbid he were to go the wrong way, this guy's supposed to be the next in line, the guy that chose to leave the royal family then come back?
His brother's the next in line. So he's
okay.
He keeps marketing himself as the spare, but he's really not the spare because really William has, William has 3 children. I think George is in line after him, who would be the king after William. So, he's just butthurt he wasn't really born first. And so I'm going to read the article then. I just want to cover this thing. But I believe when the queen was alive, they said you can, they want to do this half in, half out thing where we can monetize the monarchy, but we don't really have to be involved in it. And she said, no, you can leave or you can stay, but you can't do this.
Yeah, you're not going to use this.
You can't do this halfway thing. And that's what that's what him and Meghan Markle, they're so upset about. Because they're so entitled. They're like, well, why should we shouldn't have to do any royal duties, but we should get all the royal benefits. It's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's read this here. Prince Harry says he would love reconciliation with royal family. In a BBC interview, Harry said he didn't know how long King Charles, who has cancer, had left to live. And he expressed a desire to make peace with his family. Now, it is reported, King Charles does have cancer. But it's never been released how bad it is, or if he's on his, if he's going to be out the door in a year or two. It's like that's never ever been stated, I don't think, publicly. And he doesn't really talk to his father anymore. So I'm like, you're like, he reads about all this through the tabloids like anybody else does. So that's a ludicrous thing to say. I don't know, man. This guy's got no respect for anybody. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting too heated on this. Prince Harry said he would love to reconcile with family in Britain during an emotional BBC interview in which he admitted he had no idea about the prognosis of his father, King Charles III, who has cancer, and expressed a desire to end their painful rift. The interview was released hours after Harry lost the latest roundtable of his legal battle over his publicly funded security in the country. Speaking in California, where he lives with his wife, Meghan, and their 2 children, Harry said, I would love reconciliation with my family. He added, there's no point continuing to fight anymore. Life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of the security stuff, but it would be nice to reconcile. No. He won't speak with you, Harry, because you're a liability. Because every time you say anything, anybody says anything to you, you go and write a book about it. You go and make a podcast about it. You literally are only monetizing your family drama to make money, which is one of the lowest
perfect example.
It's one of the lowest things you can do. I'm going to monetize my family drama to make money. I mean, who does that?
It's another perfect example of somebody that doesn't want to take accountability for their actions.
Yeah.
Acting like it's the reason why he doesn't want to talk to me is the security issue. No, that's not the reason. It's your behavior. That's the reason.
It's because you're the security issue.
Yeah. It's your behavior at being the security issue.
I can't even imagine that. Can you imagine you're in a situation and you're the king of a country? I can't imagine that, but you can't even call your son on the phone because you don't know if your son is going to record the conversation and then run it to a tabloid to make money.
To the public, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know how this rift is ever going to be settled because they no longer trust this person because it's like, he wanted to go around revealing all these secrets. Yeah. And it's like, I know he said some bad things about his stepmother, Queen Camilla. He said bad things about the Princess of Wales, which, his brother is not, I guess his brother is a lot more pissed than his father is, so I've heard. But the king announced that he had been diagnosed with an undisclosed form of cancer in early 2024, receiving weekly treatments. And again, nobody really knows too much more than that because it hasn't been, public. Harry, Charles' younger son, wrote in detail about the rupture between him and other members of the royal family in his 2023 memoir, Spare. Yeah, a tell-all book about all the things your family did wrong to you. He was paid $20 million for that. And now he's like, why won't they talk to me? I don't know. I just aired out all the family secrets in this book that I got paid $20 million for, and now they don't want to talk to me. That's ridiculous. It's like, that's... Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Duh. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. Yeah, that's true. So that's a little bit of introspection there. But he said he believed the dispute over whether he should receive automatic police protection in Britain was the last remaining sticking point in the conflict. And he expressed hope that Charles could help resolve it. Harry has been fighting a decision to remove the automatic police protection given to members of the royal family. That move was made after he stepped down from his official role and left the country in 2020. Harry lost the previous stage of the case in February 2024, but appealed. That ruling came on Friday. Jeffrey Voss, one of 3 judges who dismissed Harry's case, told the hearing on Friday that a bespoke process adopted by a government committee after he moved to California, allowing British officials to make decisions on his visits to Britain on a case-by-case basis, was lawful. He said the decision to downgrade Harry's automatic protection was an understandable and perhaps predictable reaction to the Duke of Sussex having stepped back from the royal duties and having left the UK. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
And it's not like this guy's going broke. It's not like you couldn't hire private security.
He just doesn't want to foot the bill.
No, because the taxpayers of the UK should foot the bill. But why? You're not. I don't know how all that works anyway. Like they seem to love the monarchy, or at least the people I hear talk about it, like the news anchors. They seem like they're big fans of it. I don't know. I mean, we never had a monarchy here, so I don't really know how to feel about that. But this guy is not involved in any official businesses with the royal family or the monarchy or the institution. And yet he's still like, but I want all the benefits whenever I come back. As if he's too poor to pay for his own security. The ruling is a setback for Harry, who has spent more than 3 years fighting the deeply personal case. In evidence presented to the court, Harry's legal team recounted threats to his safety and described additional layers of racism and extremism that they said were driving abuse towards his family. After attending hours of hearings at the Court of Appeal last month, Harry told the Daily Telegraph he was exhausted and overwhelmed by the legal process. Yeah, I would imagine so. You keep losing over and over and over, and it costs you more and more money every time you go back. In court, his lawyer said that he had been left with inferior treatment that put his safety and that of his wife, Meghan, and their 2 children at risk. And they argued that the decision to withdraw the normal level of protection for royals had violated official policy. All right, well, we're not going to go through all this. We know it didn't, and we understand, this was your own choice.
Yeah.
I got something from Piers Morgan here, who is a very staunch fan of Harry and Meghan. And he reiterates pretty much what every royalist that I've seen pretty much says. He trashed his family as Prince Philip, his grandfather, was dying. He trashed his family as the Queen, his grandmother, was dying. And now he's trashing his family as both his father and sister-in-law have been battling cancer. Is there a more contemptible public figure in the world than Prince Harry? These are the people who want reconciliation. They have so much empathy for everybody. Mind you, his wife, Meghan Markle, has not spoken to her father in like 7 years because I think he sent a picture to a tabloid. That's the reason. These people are absolute snakes.
Yeah. Well, they didn't make any money off of that, so of course she's pissed off at him.
Yeah, but 7 years. I think her father's had like a couple strokes in the meantime, too. It's like, why don't you call your father? No.
Fuck that.
Some people wish they could call their father. Some people can't. Like,
Yep.
Has changed with the UK. Do you feel let down by your country?
That's a big question. At this point, I'm feeling very let down. It's the minority of people, especially those that read the tabloids and the press themselves. The press themselves have incited so much hatred towards myself, my wife, and even our children.
That's because you act like a contemptible prick. Sorry.
That's hard to forgive. There are decisions that have been made. There are things that have happened since 2016, especially throughout my whole life. But let's just stick since 2016. There are things that have happened that I can now forgive. I've moved past that. I can forgive my family.
That's one thing I would agree with. This is a unique situation. I'm sure it is hard, especially when you're that young. You're always thrown into the spotlight. I don't know how I would deal with that. I guess they're raised up to deal with that. So I get that aspect of it. But you left 5 years ago and you just want to be in the spotlight still. I want to leave. I don't like this institution. I want my privacy. But now you're on the BBC doing an interview. You don't really want privacy. No. You want control of the narrative.
Family's involvement, my father, my brother, and my stepmother. I can forgive the press to a large extent as well for so many things that have happened. What I'm struggling to forgive, and what I will probably always struggle to forgive, is that a decision that was made in 2020 that affects my every single day. And that is knowing...
Was that you leaving the royal family?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't think it was the decision made in 2020. It was the decision made earlier, before 2020, made by you to leave the family.
This guy,
because they only made a decision based off of your decision. He's acting like, oh well, they just took everything away from me, and I just don't understand why.
He acts like he has no agency when literally you've done everything along the way. And
You
now you're
chose
like, well, I
all
don't
of this.
understand why are there consequences to my actions?
You literally chose all of this yourself, but yet nope. I don't understand why they're doing this to me.
Knowingly putting me and my family in harm's way. Everybody knew that they were putting us at risk in 2020, and they hoped that me knowing that risk would force us to come back. But then when you realize that that didn't work, do you not want to just keep us safe? Whether you're the government, whether you're the royal household, whether you're my dad, my family, despite all of our differences, do you not want to just ensure our safety?
Taxpayers should keep them safe. Fucking bullshit.
Again, I'm calling for, the Home Secretary and the government to do a review of RAVEC, and I'm also asking for an R&B assessment.
Well, I think the Brits, they use the word twat. You are a twat. You're a bellend.
Accurate. Yeah, that's an accurate.
Nobody is any. This is the last clip. I know we're gonna move on from this. I get like, I think I'm like, all right, I'm not that critical of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but really I kind of am, because it's like, it's just, I can't imagine having as much as you do, never having to worry about everything, and you're like, oh no, but we can find stuff to worry about. We'll find it.
As you're here, Prince Harry's extraordinary interview with the BBC this week, saying his father won't talk to him, deeply unhappy about not being allowed to have security. Buckingham Palace have said, look, these issues have been examined many times in the courts with the same conclusion reached every time. What did you think when you saw that interview?
Well, what I thought was that after 5 years, Harry is still at war with his original mistake. Yep. And every time he goes on the air, he makes another one. Yeah. So it's like he is now trapped in this terrible cycle of doubling down.
This lady knows what she's
mistake.
Doing or what she's talking about.
He was told so clearly when he was considering leaving by the palace at that time, the security won't be paid for anymore. He was told it again and again. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to listen to it. I think he thought he could just blow it off and in his reckless, sort of hot-headed Harry Hotspur way, charged out of the royal family with all of these issues completely unresolved. There was no way that this court was going to go against the findings of the security, the police. They're not going to go against that. And they're not going to go up against the police, against the royal family or the police. And secondly, I didn't hear two very crucial words in that entire sort of Jeremiah about, I'd like to reconcile this. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, he never said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I caused my family all of this pain. That is really what they're upset about, not the security.
And he's not...
Admit it. Yeah. Never once did he take accountability.
I don't know if there's anybody who really, I could even point, I mean, there are people, but nobody in the public eye that I think has done as much damage to their family as this guy has. And he still walks around. He's like, oh, I don't know how old. He's like 41, 42. He's like, I don't know what I did. What's happening? Why? What?
I don't get why I'm getting treated so unfairly.
And nobody cares. It's like, you're one of the richest people in the world. It's not like you're Elon Musk. It's not like you're Bezos. You didn't do anything for it. And that's fine.
You were born into it.
Not everybody has to work. I mean, some people are born very fortunate. But it's like,
yeah, for them.
Lying,
but they,
like,
here's the thing, though. People that are usually born with that spoon, silver, platinum, whatever you want to call it, don't flush the spoon down the toilet and then get upset because the spoon's gone. Well, you threw it out, man.
He didn't flush the spoon down the toilet. What happened is, he knew if they went to Montecito and they could monetize the royal family, which is what they wanted to do. But then you're like, well, why is my family upset that I betrayed them to live some Hollywood type of lifestyle? It's like, if you're going to make that decision, then live by your decision. So you're not going to have it both ways. Stop whining about it. I don't know. It's just, all right, we got to move on. I'm getting, I could ramble on about this for a little longer, but
I think we've covered this topic.
I think it's dead and buried until, I mean, he's going to be back in the tabloids, in 2 or 3 days and whining about this or that, or
and he'll find another reason to cry.
All right, on a lighter note, we have the new release that's coming up of Lilo and Stitch. Now, Disney has not really done so well with their live action remakes so far. Or recently, I should say. Some of them have been successful, some of them haven't. But all I gotta really have is promotional material for this. It's actually pretty cute. I'm a huge fan of Stitch. My daughter loves Stitch to death. It's been her favorite thing for like the past 5 years. We watch Stitch all the time. So she's super excited about this. I'm super excited. I get to go to the same movie theater I saw it at when I was like 10, and I can take her with me to then see this version. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I wanted to compare it to some of the other Disney live action remakes, like the past one, Snow White, hasn't gone over so well. And how much they're going to speculate that this is going to make. So I just want to play, I don't know. I'm not going to play this whole thing. It's just cute little stuff. And I think this is good promotional material, too.
I didn't hear the chicken jockey.
I don't even know what that is. It's a Minecraft movie. Did you see it?
I did, yeah.
Really? I haven't seen that either. There's more to it, more things. He pops out of more places and whatnot. But
that'd be cool.
It's a good promotion, I think. And there's not a lot of controversy around this film. It's not so much like this one, Disney's Snow White, which this is from about a month ago, a little more, month and a week. Lost $200 million because of Rachel Zegler. There was so much controversy around it. She pretty much said if you voted for Trump, you can, get out, don't come see it. Well, there was a lot of problems before that. She's just kind of genuinely unlikable whenever she speaks. There's the whole problem with Peter Dinklage saying, oh, the CGI dwarves, you can't put dwarves in movies. It's like, yeah, because you never played the role of a dwarf, because that's, well, you're not known for that.
That industry has made millionaires of dwarves, but yeah, let's not do that anymore.
Well, this was on track. I mean, apparently it lost about $200 million, which is not really surprising. It was one of the worst. I don't know. Oh, update. The loss is looking even larger, closer to $300 million. Oh, thank you for the update.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And especially since, Snow White is the Disney flagship. It's like it was their first movie.
Snow White is what Snow White is, yeah.
But, Disney's not all, it's not
the audience made it very clear that you can't just do whatever you want and expect us to go see it.
Disney's just so hit or miss. I mean, I know they have a ton of IPs, but they're so hit or miss. Thunderbolts is actually doing really well. You said you saw Thunderbolts. You said you liked it, right?
It's a solid movie, yeah.
So, and Thunderbolts is looking, from its, so far, 76 million in domestic ticket sales. I think it has another, probably around close to that also. Or maybe a little more than that. I'm not going to read through this whole article because we spent, last episode talking about Thunderbolts a lot. But it looks like it's going to make its money back. It'll probably earn a profit. So that's good for Marvel because Marvel needs a win. And then
they've already, we talked about previously, they've already said that it's at least in the top 4 since Endgame. So it's definitely a solid movie.
Yeah, we did pull it
It'll
up,
give them some good momentum going forward.
Long range forecast: can Lilo and Stitch push Memorial Day weekend over 200 million? Let's see. Domestic opening weekend range would be 120 million to 140 million in 3 days, 4 days. Is that right? I don't know what that means exactly. With the latest Disney's line of classic animation remakes, Lilo and Stitch doesn't have the legacy of prior titles that have gone down this route. But as seen from the underwhelming opening of Q1, released Disney's Snow White, Legacy Isn't Everything. Released shortly after the Disney Renaissance of 1989 to 1999, the original Lilo and Stitch made $35.2 million domestically, and on its opening, and $145.7 million domestic total. Wasn't a box office heavy hitter, the likes of the prior decades, like The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, but it's built a solid audience on home video over the years, which paired with positive marketing traction and great trailer view numbers in Q1 served positive signs for the Memorial Day release. Though this year's Memorial Day weekend slate is crowded one with Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, well, that's irrelevant. That's not going to like transfer over. If people are going to take their kids to see Lilo and Stitch, I don't think they're going to take them to see Mission Impossible. But, you know, and Angel Studios, the last rodeo opening at 8/24's Friendship expanding into wide release. Well, I hate how this article is written. I really don't like it. I'm not going to read it.
I don't think there's going to be any other family movies at the same time.
No, it's going to be a family movie. And
well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to have any direct competition for family movies.
It says that none of the other titles are in direct competition with Lilo and Stitch. To the contrary, the array of genres on offer could serve as a boon to families looking to make a trip to the cinema over the long weekend. The holiday weekend's titles could certainly benefit from the mega success of April release Minecraft, which has gotten a multi-generational audience out to theaters and in front of marketing for upcoming releases. The abundance of counter-programming options could very well make the Memorial Day holiday the first 200 million weekend at the domestic box office so far this year. Now, let's see. I think these predictions for Lilo and Stitch are very exaggerated. I can't imagine there could be so much interest in the Disney B IP. See, I am going to go out against this, and I know I'm biased because I have a lot of Lilo. I have a lot of Lilo and Stitch stuff on my channel. My daughter is obsessed with Lilo and Stitch. I got more experience than most people could possibly name. But like I was telling you earlier, like I went to the grocery store the other day. I saw somebody had a Stitch decal on their car. I walked down to take my daughter to the bus stop, and somebody has Stitch seat covers. I think Stitch is. I went to this, the store to get cigarettes the other day, and the girl behind the counter is wearing a Lilo and Stitch shirt. I think Stitch is such a massively popular character. I think more so than the likes of Snow White, more so than the likes of Ariel.
My 13-year-old daughter still sleeps every single night with a Stitch plush. It absolutely translates to this generation.
Well, I just think he's just kind of a likable, all-around, very friendly, very appealing-looking character, I think. And, the story, I think the original story is very good. It probably was the best of, like, the 2000s to 2010s Disney animations was probably Lilo and Stitch. I don't know if that's controversial or not. Maybe there's one or two movies I'm forgetting. But then again, like I said, I'm biased. I have more Stitch memorabilia in my house than anybody ever possibly needs. But I don't know. Can Lilo and Stitch push Memorial Day weekend over 200 million? I don't know what appeal it has internationally. Although I would think it did, because I think they did a Stitch show that was like an anime that was in Japan, and then I think they did one in China too. So
I was going to say, I can imagine this in Asia, Japan specifically, would be a heavy hitter.
Stitch is popular pretty much everywhere, so could it do 200 million? I think it can. I'm going to actually stake, I think it will. I think people...
I'd be surprised if it didn't, honestly. I think it would.
So what do I got? I just got a couple more clips here, and I think this is a good promotional thing too.
That's a hell of a weekend to have a release too. That's a really good movie weekend. So.
Like I said, they don't have. Well, this movie doesn't have any like big name actors or actresses. I don't think, at least not headlining. Like I know the girl who's playing Lilo. I forget her name, but yeah, she's relatively unknown. The girl who's playing.
A movie like this, you don't need big names though.
No, you don't, but for promotional material. But I think this is a better promotional material than having the actors or actresses go out and say something. I know Chris Sanders, he came back, the guy who did the first one, he voices Stitch, so he's original from that. But I mean, I couldn't recognize him if I saw him on the street.
I was going to say, it's a voice. Sometimes you can't really put faces to a voice.
Not the Stitch's voice, anyway.
But this is a great promotion, for sure.
It is. And I think it really shows that, if you just put this little animatronic thing right here, people will just go up and they just kind of want to, because people like Stitch. He's a very...
They just want to interact with it, yeah.
He's just a very
likable
character. I think he's got a little bit of charm to him. And I don't know, and I hope it's good. The movie the trailer looks like it's going to be pretty good. They got some scenes in there, like I said, some of them I know they're not from the original movie. Some of them look like they're copied directly from it, and that's okay. I don't, as long as it keeps the heart and the core message of the story. Because I always had this discussion with my daughter. Well, who's the hero of Lilo and Stitch? Well, Nani's the hero of Lilo and Stitch. But I guess if you're a kid, you don't know that. But I mean, it's about a found family story, which Chris Sanders is very good at. He just did The Wild Robot, which again is a found family story. They've kind of he's really good at that genre, and I just hope it does stick with the core values of the original one. I got one more here. This is a short one.
I would love to see a voice actor.
It's just Stitch driving a car around a movie theater. Again, I just find him to be a charming, likable character. I would be surprised if it didn't do 200 million in its opening weekend, especially since it's a long weekend. It's going to be
on Memorial Day. I think they're gonna definitely meet expectations. There's a bunch of other
movies coming out, but this is the only family movie, and I think people will take their kids to see it. I know I will be taking my daughter to see this, and I don't get out to the movies very much anymore. But we'll wait to see if there's more news coming out. I probably will cover this again, just because. Like I said, that's kind of like my YouTube channel was before I got into.
I expect a review from you.
Politics
about Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, I probably will do one. Yeah, before I got into news, politics, cultural stuff, anything really. It's I was just making Lilo and Stitch videos, and my daughter was like, "Hey, I want a Lilo and Stitch video. I want to see this experiment, that experiment." Yeah. I can name all the experiments. It's
I'm looking forward to the review. I'm sure my daughter's going to see it. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be taking her. She might go with her mother, but I believe she will definitely go see it.
Well, that is it on Stitch. We got one more thing, just kind of our closing out segment, kind of in the vein that we were doing the 100 men versus one gorilla thing. Just, for a brain teaser, and anybody else who wants to, please, leave down in the comments if you're still watching at this point.
Yeah, let us know what your 4 would be.
You can choose 4 of the following things. And, just what would you choose? Let me look through it real quick. I got 2 so far. What do you think?
For me, the ones that are 110% are the water purifier and probably the handsaw. Or no, I wouldn't do the handsaw. I'd do the knife.
Yeah, I'm thinking of handsaw. But handsaw's only good when you're initially making a shelter. That's the problem with handsaw.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather have a knife because it's a lot more purposes for it. But the water purifier is a no-brainer. You're not drinking seawater, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm taking pot, fishing rod, knife, and maybe tarp.
See, the only reason why things like the fishing rod or the matches, why I wouldn't pick something like those is you can make a fishing rod. There's traps for fish that you can easily make with the things that you can find on a deserted island.
Really, you think so?
Same thing with rope. Vines work just as good as rope.
You could probably use. You could probably substitute it.
And a tarp is not necessary because again, you could use foliage and whatever that you may find foliage.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's an interesting thing. Yeah, I'm gonna go with I think pot. I think fishing rod, but then I always get hung up on. I'm like, well, what if I lose the hook? Then it's worthless. But
you're honestly better than a fishing rod would be making a makeshift net. Netting would be probably more efficient on a deserted island than a fishing rod.
Yeah, I know, but net's not an option. So, and I don't know if I can make a net by myself. I don't know if I have the skills to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'd go with pot, knife, fishing rod, and I gotta pick one more. Yeah, maybe tarp. Or maybe tent. Tent might be better than tarp, but you know, if a tent rips, then it's ripped, and then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, it's useless.
So tarp
I'd
is
still
better.
stick with the regular foliage. My 4 would be the water purifier, the knife. I would pick the pot,
Yeah.
the metal pot, and then honestly, probably the boots, because I hate walking. I love walking around barefoot, but if I was on a deserted island, I would not want to walk everywhere barefoot.
True.
Because if you get a foot injury, good luck.
Well, you could take the first aid kit then.
Very true.
But yeah, you only get 4, so.
Yeah, that's why these discussions happen.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Like I said, if you're still watching, let us know down in the comments, and if you could, please leave a like on the video, share the video out. We got like 4 subscribers right now, which is okay. You know, we're still getting the hang of this. We're still
One
getting
episode.
into it.
This is the second one. Let's keep trying to improve.
Definitely. You always got to improve. But I think that about wraps it up. Duke, you got anything more to add or say? Or
Thank you everyone for joining us. I look forward to the next time.
All right, that'll be it for us. Did I say to like and share and subscribe?
Yep, we got all that.
Have you not done that yet? Watching? Why haven't you done that yet? No, I'm kidding, but I'm not. Go do that. All right, that's it for us. We will be back. I think we're gonna try to do this like semi-daily. So what do you think?
Later on in the week, we'll definitely be on later on in the week.
I think we're
probably Wednesday.
Probably Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday's good. All right, and we will see you then. Thank you for tuning in, and be good.